Good morning everyone. Welcome back to day 8 of our PowerShell learning series. So in the previous session we talked about variables. So in this session it's a very important concept in PowerShell operators. So before we begin, I'll ask a simple question. For example, if your manager asks like how many databases are currently running, how many backup failures are occurred, so is this any disk space issues below 10%, is there any SQL service is stopped? So if your manager asks these questions, so you can connect to the server and you can explain the things, right? But can PowerShell answer these questions automatically? Absolutely yes. But for PowerShell to make decision, it needs operators to make some decision whether it is running or not, whether DB is online or not, whether the disk space is below the threshold or above the threshold. To make some decision, to make some operations, PowerShell needs operators. So here operators are the brains behind the calculations, comparisons, validations and decision making. So without operators, no calculations, no comparisons, no conditions and no automations. So today's our topic, it looks very simple, but I can confidently say every PowerShell script you write in the future will use operators. So today we are learning one of the most important building blocks of scripting, that is operators. So in every concept is important, the variable concept is important, providers is important, so there is some dependency between each and every topic. Okay, so in this session you will learn what operators are and why they are used, how to perform calculations, how to compare the values, how to combine the conditions, like either like logical and arithmetical combinations, something like that, how to assign values using operators. So these are the essential for PowerShell scripting. Okay, so if variable stores the information, in the previous session we talked about variables, right? So what we discussed, so whenever we assign the value, PowerShell automatically creates a variable. So it is storing some information. So if variable is storing the information, operators will help us to work with that information. Whatever the information which is stored in the variable, these operators can help us to work with variables to perform some automation. Okay, for example, in a real case, if I can say disk space is equal to 15%. Okay, so PowerShell needs to be decided. We have set the threshold to 15%. So if it is below the threshold, then we need to get an alert. Okay, so PowerShell will check, is this disk space is below 15% or above 15%. So here it is comparing the values, below 15 or above 15. So that comparison happens using these operators. So in this real case, in PowerShell script, most of the PowerShell scripts we are using these operators. So in this session we'll talk about arithmetic operators, comparison operators, logical operators, assignment operators. So these are used daily. SQL DBAs, Windows administrators, cloud engineers, DevOps engineers, automation engineers, everyone will use in the PowerShell script to perform these all kind of operators. So as I mentioned, without operators, no automations, nothing, no coding, nothing, no comparisons, nothing. Okay, for example, if a server has 5 databases, right, if server has 5 databases and we add 3 more databases into the SQL server, so when we perform some operations, what operations we are performing to get the total databases, what operations we need to perform? Obviously it is arithmetic operation only, so we need to perform addition operation to get the total number of database. That's an arithmetic operator. Okay, arithmetic operators will perform the mathematical calculations. Arithmetic operators will perform mathematical calculations in PowerShell. They work with numbers like integers and decimals. Keep it in mind, arithmetic operators will only perform mathematical calculations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division and modulus. Only it is performing mathematical calculations only. So these arithmetic operators always work with numbers, like whether it may be integers or decimals or whatever it is. Only it play with only numbers. Okay. For example, let me get into the server. For example, I assign $a equal to 10, okay, and $b equal to 15. So, and $sum equal to $a plus $b. So what we are doing here, we are performing addition operation. Obviously you know this kind of operations, right? So you know this kind of simple calculation, but my focus is who is not having at least basic knowledge or scripting knowledge in PowerShell, I am explaining to them. Okay, so what operations we perform here? So we perform addition, so the total value is 25. Likewise, we can also perform subtraction and multiplication, division and modulus. So these operators are commonly used in scripts for counting, for example number of databases, and if you want to perform loops, and if you want to perform some calculations, then we'll be using these arithmetic operators. Hope you understand this. But here the main confusion between division and subtraction, division and modulus. So when you use division, for example 20 by 5, then obviously you will get 4 as a division, the total value, the divided value. But when it comes to the modulus, so if you perform what we call in Telugu, we call it as sesham, right? So for example 10 by 3 into 3 9, so we have a remainder called 1, so that is nothing but modulus value. Few people are still confusing the value difference between division and remainder. Okay, so these arithmetic operators are commonly used in scripts for counting, loops and calculations. Okay, most beginners understand scripting from arithmetic operators only. Okay, so hope you understand these arithmetic operators. Just please play with small calculations. So as I mentioned, these arithmetic operators are always play with only integers and decimal values, and these arithmetic operators are used for only mathematical calculations. And if you want to count the databases, if you want to count the services, if you want to count the total database size, then these arithmetic operators will be helpful. Okay, so the next one is comparison operators. So here comparison operators are used for compare the values. For example 10 equal to 10, is it true or false? 8 greater than 12, is it true or false? So here you are comparing the values, comparing two values. The result is always will be either true or false. It is always returns, whenever you use comparison operators, always it returns either true value or false value. So this is used in conditions, filtering and validations. So here we have comparison operators: equal to, not equal to, greater than, less than, greater than or equal, less than or equal. Here you can write equal to something like that, but instead if you type hyphen equal, you need to remember these operators. So arithmetic operators is simple: plus, minus, multiplication, divided by, division and modulus. But when it comes to comparison operators, you have to clearly remember these operators. Equal to hyphen eq is simple, remember, equal hyphen eq, not equal hyphen ne, hyphen ne is nothing but not equal, not equal, greater than gt, less than lt, greater than or equal hyphen ge, less than or equal to. So you need to remember the comparison operators always returns either true or false values only. These are only essential for decision making. When you are writing a if statements in your PowerShell script, these comparison operators will help us for the decision making. So if value is true, then get into the script. If value is false, then get out of the script. Then it will go to the else condition. To make some decision, then we are using these comparison operators. So PowerShell uses these comparison operators heavily in conditions, filtering, validations and decision making. Okay. For example, you can there is a SQL service. Okay, if you want to take a decision, like if SQL service status is running, then connect to the server. If SQL service status is not running or stopped, then go to the else back. Here if condition is taking decision. If the service is running, then true, then get into the script. If the service status is not running, if it is in stopped state, you can execute the else condition. Okay. Likewise, for example, equal. So here equal always also returns true or false values. 10 equal to 10, is it true or false? 10 equal to 5, false. Likewise, here every operator in the comparison is helping us for decision making, and always it is returning either true or false values only. And the next operators are logical operators. So the logical operators are used to combine multiple conditions. So you have to be very clear. So we have very limited operators only, but don't confuse any operator. Okay. So the coming to the logical operator, these operators are used to combine multiple conditions, oftenly used in if statements and loops. For example, if you can see here, age is greater than 18. So here what condition we are mentioning here, greater than, what operator we are using? GT. Here comparison operator. Okay. Here age less than 60. Here also we are using which operator? Comparison operator. In between the two comparison operators, what we are using? Logical operators. What it is returning? If this condition is true, and make sure this condition is also true, then only the statement will be executed. So true only if both conditions are true. When we are using and means both conditions, both comparison conditions should be true, then only it will execute. Or else the score greater than 90 or rank equal to A. In any case, either this or this. If score is 90, then execute, or rank equal to A, then execute this. Any condition is satisfied, then it will execute the script. If both conditions are not satisfied, then else block will be executed. And here one more is not. It is reversing the condition, negating the condition. If active is false, then it will go for the else block. Don't confusion between arithmetic operators, comparison operators and logical operators. So simply remember, arithmetic operators only perform mathematical calculations and always deal with numbers, integers and decimal values. When it comes to the comparison operators, it is dealing with only the conditions based. It is used for decision making. Equal to, greater than, less than, greater than or equal, not less than or equal, or not equal to. Okay, so comparison operators always returns decision true or false values. When it comes to logical operators are used for combine the multiple conditions. Here, as I mentioned, we can use and for both conditions to be satisfied. Or is used for at least in any condition, either some age is score is greater than 90 or rank equal to then any condition is satisfied, then if statement will be executed or loop statement will be executed. If none of the statement is satisfied, then it will go to the else block. The same way not, it negates the condition, it is reversing the condition. But logical operators also used for combine the multiple conditions only. Okay, so the next one is assignment operators. So assignment operators are used to assign or update the values in variables, which are used to assign or update the values in variables. So the most common is simple assignment. For example, here we have already seen in the variable section $a equal to 10. Here we are assigning a value to the variable where we used equal, Here equal is nothing but we are assigning a value to the variable, that is nothing but a assignment variable. So most commonly we are using equal to assign the values into variables. Here the shortcuts will make simpler and faster code. So for example, I am assigning a value 10 into x. I am assigning into a variable name called x. Then here you can understand $x plus equal to 5, which means 10 plus 5, 15. So it is nothing but x plus 10 plus 5 plus 1. Okay, here $x minus equal to, here you can see it is already a value of 15. Okay, so in the 15 you are assigning, you are removing minus 3, you are subtracting minus 3, then the value will be 12. Then now the x value is 12, so here into 2, 12 into 2, 24. Now the x value is 24. Okay, and now the 24 by 4, here the division value is 6. Likewise, these are the shortcut and simpler for faster code. Here these assignment operators are used to assign or updating the values. Here you can see, here it is updating, once we assign then it is updating the values. Here it is updating the values. These assignment operators are to store or assign or update the values in variables. This is very simple and very crystal clear examples. Okay, and when it comes to the combining operators, here I am just giving an example of combining. How do we combine all these operators, arithmetic operators, logical operators, comparison operators, how we can combine all these operators. For example, what I will do is I'll clear this one. What I'll do is, here I'll use all the combinations. Okay, for example I am assigning a value is equal to 25. Okay, I am assigned a value. Here what I have used, here I used assignment operator. Okay, okay, then what I am doing is, if I am writing a condition, we will discuss this if conditions later. So if $h, automatically the variable is automatically populated greater than 18, and here I am using AND condition, comparison condition, and then what action I need to perform, make sure if the age is greater than 18, then he is an adult, you can update this one, else then don't execute anything. So here if you can see this, here we are using combination of greater than, combining this we have used assignment operator, comparison operator and logical operator as well, logical operator and comparison operators as well. So here you can see the condition is satisfied, age is greater than 18, so age is condition greater than 18 and less than 60, then it is get into the script and it will print as a adult. If you can see, the adult has been printed. Okay, for example, as simply I can say here 25 is the value is assigned to the age is 25 is assigned to the age. So here these both conditions are satisfying, then it is printing as a adult. Okay, then we can also validate one more conditions. For example, employee, I'll take, what I'll do is marks. Okay, marks equal to 85, marks equal to 85. So if what I'll do is marks greater than or equal to 80 or 90, and here I am using OR condition, marks greater than 80. Here I am using greater than or equal to 90 or greater than or equal to 80. Then what I am printing here is, here I'll print as passed. In any condition, whether he is having greater than 80 or greater than 90, in any condition if it is satisfied, then I will be printing as passed. Okay, then what will be the output? It will be showing as a passed, because any condition. Here what I will do is, because here we are giving a OR option. OR option is nothing but to compare any condition should be satisfied, not both the condition. In the previous example, both conditions should be satisfied, but when it comes to this one, when any condition is satisfied, then the script will be executed. Okay, if marks are 75, for example, what I will do is here I'll update to marks as 75. Here none of the conditions are satisfied, greater than or equal to 80 not satisfied, greater than or equal to 20 not satisfied, then it will not execute, it will not return anything. If you can see here, it is not written any value. Okay, for example, we'll take one more example for counting purpose. So initially I'll take it as count. Okay, so initially the count value is 0. So here so far we have used in if condition. Now we'll try to use while condition. Later we'll discuss how we can use if and while. All these conditions we'll discuss. For now, just understand count less than 15, sorry, or else less than, I can say 5. Okay, I can say count less than 5, then dollar count plus equal to 1. Okay, and then write output dollar count. Okay, here you can see what conditions I used. Here I used assignment operator, and here I have used comparison operator, and here you can use, here what operator we have used, assignment operator, and then here we are printing count value. So when we assign a value to 0, here it is checking the condition less than 5, so it is satisfied, then it will be printed, and again it will go to the for loop, and again the condition will be executed, and until the condition is satisfied, then it will be printing 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, this is how the operators works. But this is concept is very simple, but you need to understand how these operators are working. So the best practice to understanding these operators, always use comparison operators, equal, greater than, etc., and avoid mixing different data types unintentionally, and use logical operators for cleaner conditions. Depends on the logic, you have to use logical conditions. Assignment operators simplify the code, okay, and test conditions before using them in large script. So before running any script, make sure it should be running in the safe environment. So in this session we discussed about the different type of operators with small examples, but I can promise you, going forward we are learning step by step process, right? So we are not here you are not explaining all in one day. Okay, so I am mainly focusing on who is not having any scripting knowledge, and I am trying to explain the concept clearly. Okay, if you have any doubts or if any comments, then you can update in the comments. Okay, so if this today's session will help you to understand PowerShell operators, please like, share and subscribe, and tell me in your comments and which operator do you think you will be using most if you already having the PowerShell scripts. Okay, so I can say simply at the end of the session, these operators are used in almost every PowerShell script. So if variables are the storage containers, operators are the tools that help us work with those values. We'll meet in the next session. Thank you.